WBCB presents Pro Wrestling Weekly.
Enough is enough, and it's time for a change!
I can't believe I'm putting my voice to this.
Call in with a question or comment at 215-949-3232 or 888-922-2149.
Thank you for your irrelevant opinion.
And now, here's your host of Pro Wrestling Weekly, Fearon.
The first thing you need to do is to tell these people to shut up if you want to hear what I gotta say. I'm a broadcast journalist. I have a right to my opinion.
Oh, son of a...
I am the best on this microphone, in that ring, even at commentary.
There's the sound of the bell. We are set to go. At least mostly set to go. This is Pro Wrestling Weekly here on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com. Fearon Derry here with you for an abbreviated program today. That's right. We are on until 12:45. We've got high school playoff football action. Trenton at Manalapan coming up at quarter of the hour. As promised last week, a little bit later in the show. That's right. We're going to be talking about it. Deadly Game. The last time that WWE, at the time it was the World Wrestling Federation, had a tournament to determine a new heavyweight champion, culminating at Survivor Series. That's right. A deadly game that we play as we live. When we say what is on our minds, play it now before the game is over. Somehow, I keep playing it week after week, and at least for now, I've survived. We'll see. So we'll get into that a little bit later. A lot of news and whatnot to get into. Seth Rollins talking about his injury. He finally spoke with WWE.com. I'll tell you what he had to say about that. Also, a WWE superstar featured in an NFL website video. Yeah, it's not who you think. I know I talked about The Undertaker, but now somebody else in this regard. Also, Virgil and Tommy Dreamer interviewed for a Comedy Central show. Yeah, that's right. We got that story coming up. The Rock does confirm that his girlfriend is expecting. Oh, wait, this isn't the 1950s. We can say pregnant on the air. All right, so we'll get into that story. Also, here's Taker. That's right. We'll talk about The Undertaker making an appearance on The Tonight Show earlier this week. And also some news that came up yesterday, some somewhat breaking news. Billy Gunn was let go from WWE. Yeah, you remember him from the Attitude Era, and actually as recently as a year ago, he was tag team champions with the Road Dogg, the New Age Outlaws. Well, Monty Kip Sop, best known as WWE's Billy Gunn, was fired yesterday as an NXT trainer due to testing positive for elevated levels of testosterone in a powerlifting meet back in July. Yeah, I know, not to get all scientific on you, because I don't play a doctor on TV or radio for that matter, but Gunn's drug test well over the testosterone ratio limits. Now, the legal limit for most competitive sports is 4-to-1 testosterone to epitestosterone ratio, or TE ratio for short. 4-to-1, some places 6-to-1, I guess, depending on whether you look at like Olympics or the Tour de France had a big deal with that, with the doping allegations of Lance Armstrong and others. 4-to-1, 6-to-1, that type ratio. Gunn reportedly tested at 37-to-1. That's like over, 6, 7, 8, 9 times the limit, something like that. A lot of testosterone running through there, and because of that, he was suspended from powerlifting for 4 years. Now, WWE officials had no idea that he was competing as a powerlifter until a few weeks ago, or for that matter, that he was suspended from powerlifting. With that high testosterone, no wonder he's still looking as good as he does at 52. The former 11-time tag team champion returned to WWE as a trainer in 2012, appearing at the 1000th episode of Monday Night Raw in July of that year. He was an agent and trainer, and even won the tag titles one more time with longtime partner Road Dogg in early 2014. So, not so good news for the self-professed Mr. Ass from back in the day. Yeah, I cleared it with the censors. I'm allowed to say that too. I saw a grimace in the back, but no, we're good to go with that. Also, back in the house, Serena observing and whatnot. Still a little hesitant to get on the microphone, and I implore you that you can hardly sound worse than I do. I'll throw it out there. And somehow they've been keeping me on here for all these years now. Gosh, it'll have been this coming March, I think, 7 years that I've been the host of this train wreck that we call Pro Wrestling Weekly, something like that. Anyway, we've got room for your calls as well, 215-949-3232. We're toll-free at 888-922-2149. Conspicuous by his, well, actually not so conspicuous by his absence, as he's been absent more so than present as of late. But Lucas, my co-host, intern, whatever else have you, he will be accompanying his, it's not even alma mater because he's currently there. I guess that'd just be mater. I don't know. It doesn't matter. How about that, as The Rock would say. No, he's going to be, well, he does some work with the Pennsbury football team, and he'll be accompanying them on the bus as they take on Downingtown West in their playoff matchup. And you can hear that game right here on 1490 WBCB, pregame at 6 with a 7 o'clock kickoff. And I believe we might also have, as well as the audio, the video stream, I believe. Don't hold me to that. That things change second by second around here. I've said that quite a bit as of late. But I believe we'll have that at WBCB1490.com as well. So who knows? Maybe you'll see Lucas somewhere down there on the field. Or maybe I can talk to whoever's running the camera and keep it off him. I don't know. Something like that. I know. I pick on him even when he's not here. I'm getting looks like, why are you picking on the kid so much? It's a fun back and forth banter, but Serena hasn't seen that here in person yet because the last couple of weeks Lucas has been absent for Monster Factory things and now this Pennsbury thing. So yeah, let's get into some news a little bit here. So Seth Rollins. As you know, he's the reason that this title tournament is going on because of the injury in Europe, and WWE's finishing that European tour. I think today's their last day, and then they're flying back to the States for Monday Night Raw and somewhere in South Carolina. I forget off the top of my head. Columbia, maybe. Somewhere in South Carolina, I know that much. A state that I have no business being in. I'll just leave it at that. But Rollins was interviewed by WWE.com regarding the injury that caused him to forfeit the WWE World Heavyweight Championship and keep him out pretty much through the summer of 2016. He said, quote, overall, I think I'm in a pretty good spot. Physically, my knee doesn't hurt. The ligaments don't have nerve endings, so that's a good thing and a bad thing, but I don't feel any pain. He goes on to say, it's just a lot of instability in the knee capsule. Emotionally, could be better. Obviously, it's a tough spot to be in. I'm mostly just looking forward to getting the surgery done and getting better every day. And he did have the surgery earlier this week, and some blacked out pictures because blood is a no-no in WWE anymore, or on WWE.com on the website there. Some in hospital or inside, an inside look, but not too far inside because this isn't National Geographic, as far as the surgery process for Seth Rollins. And now it's just a matter of healing, recovering, and recuperating on his part. So the tournament, as much as a lot of us thought that it would take place all in one night, well, there's still a few weeks of WWE television going on. And the first round matchups, or... well, no, it wouldn't be the quarterfinal. Yeah, the first round matchups of the field of 16, as we found out, occurred over the course of this past week. And for those who missed it, all of the results of those coming up in a little bit. And that brings us to the Elite Eight, which I'll give you the lineup for that as well. Yeah, I'll take care of a timeout here. I'm used to timing for 1 o'clock, so timing for 12:45 is a little different. So I'll be hitting the timeouts a little bit earlier than usual. Still, needless to say, a lot to get into. So I've got the first round matchups from this past week and where the quarterfinals are heading. And I have to admit, these are some pretty good matchups. Definitely intriguing for that. The rest of the Survivor Series lineup, some more news and notes to get into, and of course, well, I got to tell you about my good friends over at George's Cards and Collectibles. It's your place for sports and wrestling memorabilia as well as legendary sports figure appearances. Not too early to start thinking about holiday shopping. I mean, we're in mid-November after all. It's rapidly approaching. less than 6 weeks away. Just throwing that out there for those who haven't been near a calendar anytime soon, even though it's probably on your smartphone right in front of you. But anyway, you can get your sports collectibles at any of George's 3 locations, including their original store at 7755 New Falls Road in Fairless Hills, as well as on the lower level of the Oxford Valley Mall next to the Sears Court, and in the Neshaminy Mall in the AMC Theater wing. Plus, for the holiday season, the 4th store open in the Willow Grove Park Mall on the 3rd level between Sears and the food court. Good for you up there in central Bucks County. Now, for those looking for more information on upcoming signings, collectibles, and more, give George's a call at 215-943-2475 or go to georgescollectibles.com. Gosh, still a lot to do here. The Deadly Game Look Back, we'll have that coming up in the 3rd segment. And the look at the current tournament as well. That's coming up next here on Pro Wrestling Weekly on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com.
And now, more Pro Wrestling Weekly with your host, Fearon Derry.
Welcome back to Pro Wrestling Weekly here on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com. Fearon Derry here with you. Serena silently observing as well. I was kind of explaining to her some of the ins and outs of the control board that I'm sitting at here at the radio station. And since I tend to be long-winded, I went, oh, crap, this is the part where I turn the microphone on and start talking. Yeah, I know. I've been doing this for, 7.5 years now. You'd think I'd have some semblance of a clue. Nope. Not even a little bit. But one thing I do have a clue on is the World Heavyweight Title Tournament, which we saw quite a few matches over the course of this week. In fact, all 8 matches were contested of the first round between Raw and SmackDown, 5 on Raw, 3 on SmackDown. And your advancements, well, in case you hadn't seen the tournament board at all, or I don't know, would that be like the old King of the Ring board they called the Corb back in 94? Oh, Pat and Gill. All right. Anyway, enough memories aside. Roman Reigns pinning the Big Show, so he advanced, as did Kevin Owens, who defeated Titus O'Neil. How Titus O'Neil got, I don't know. There were some odd selections as far as the title tournament, but that's always been an issue. Whenever you have a field of 14 or 16 in this case, you kind of look and go, all right, for a heavyweight title, there are some head scratchers. I mean, WrestleMania 4, for example, oh gosh, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I mean, I don't know if anybody at that point in 1988 thought that Jake the Snake Roberts or Ravishing Rick Rude, for example, or maybe the Natural Butch Reed would have had a very strong shot of being the world champion, compared to your Ted DiBiase, Randy Savage, Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant. Just there are a couple that make you scratch your head a little bit is where I was going with that. Dolph Ziggler pinned The Miz to advance, as Cesaro, well, he defeated Sheamus, and also because they were in England, I have to admit this is rather interesting, and at least for me, because it was one quarter of the OSW quadrilogy, for lack of a better term. But Wayne Rooney, the famous footballer, got into it with Wade Barrett, or King Barrett, who was at Sheamus's in his corner, I guess, at ringside for the match, and Barrett ended up getting slapped by Rooney. So, yeah, we've seen Rooney, we've seen Narcissus. Now we just got to get Messi and Pele in there. Oh, okay, Pele's getting up there, so WWE's got to act fast. They're not going to, though. That's just purely for my amusement. And, newcomer to WWE and longtime stalwart in NXT, Tyler Breeze making his way into the tournament. How, I'm not sure, but that's probably why he was bounced in the first round by Dean Ambrose. All that occurring on Raw. And then to SmackDown, where we saw Neville pin King Barrett, probably because he was still reeling from the slap from Rooney a couple of days earlier. Kalisto with an upset, in my opinion, over Ryback to advance, and Alberto Del Rio beating Stardust, much to my dismay, to advance as well. So your quarterfinal matchups, which we'll probably see most of those play out this week on TV, as now that we're down to the Elite Eight. These matches all look fantastic. Dolph Ziggler squaring off against Dean Ambrose. Kevin Owens facing Neville. That should be an interesting clash of styles. Great big man, little man matchup. Alberto Del Rio against Callisto. Something tells me that south of the border they've faced off a time or two over the years, so that should be fascinating. And Roman Reigns challenging Cesaro. Those are your quarterfinal matchups. So, yeah, pick your winners in your head. I'm not about to put any of these as predictions certain to go wrong. I'll save it for the Survivor Series pay-per-view itself, which will also see Charlotte defending the Divas Championship against Paige. And a match just added over the course of the last couple of days, a tag team matchup with a little bit of mystery to it. The Brothers of Destruction are back together. The Undertaker and Kane, they're going to be taking on two of the members of the Wyatt family. Which two? I don't know, but my hunch would say probably Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman. But that's with no insider knowledge. Not that I have much of an inside to have knowledge of, but that's just speculation and, in a lot of cases, logic and common sense. Not that either of those necessarily apply in professional wrestling at all times, as I'm sure you all know there. All right, some other news, notes, and tidbits to get into. Former TNA knockout Lade Tappa. You remember her. At least I think you do, if you watch TNA even a little bit over the last, a couple years or so. Well, she'll be fighting Gabby Garcia in the Ryzen Fighting event that will be held December 31st in Tokyo, Japan, and it'll be broadcast that morning on New Year's Eve on Spike TV, 10 a.m. Eastern due to the time difference. So a little morning women's MMA action on New Year's Eve before you get your celebratory natures on and whatnot to put an end to 2015. Okay, maybe I won't be doing that. But if you want to, hey, go for it. It's all for you there. Also, WWE's Roman Reigns featured on the San Francisco 49ers website in a The Faithful video. Reigns and his brother Matt Anoa'i, also known as former WWE star Rosie. You remember him, the superhero in training, the abbreviation I can't say. They were both interviewed about their 49ers fandom, and Reigns noted that there's a group of Niners fans in the locker room, quote, and then there's Daniel Bryan, end quote, who is a Seattle Seahawks fan. So, of course, trying to put some heat on Mr. Yes himself. Not that he doesn't have enough already for the concussions and whatnot. Now, this, I got a chance to see at least a good part of this, and you definitely should go, I guess, to Comedy Central to check this out. Virgil and Tommy Dreamer appearing on the nightly show with Larry Wilmore. They did that earlier this week in a two-part episode discussing racism in pro wrestling. Dreamer talks about some of the most racist things that he's seen in wrestling, and Virgil talks about being essentially a slave in WWE, to the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, and actually at one point I think, there was some other slave-ish type storyline that was going on with Hercules. But Virgil also shows correspondent Ricky Velez how to be a racist wrestler. Yeah, I don't even... I was going to say, can I name the character that they named him in the... Well, if they put it on TV, I guess we can mention it here. I think his character name was Ricky the Border Jumper Velez. Yeah, I know. I cringed at that, too. But if you're going to learn how to be a racist wrestler, I don't know. But a little bit of a hometown bonus. They also got to learn a bit in the ring at Pro Wrestling Syndicate in North Jersey. Another nice area there, up in the Rahway area. I got to check them out earlier this year. And while we're talking about night-type shows, The Undertaker made an appearance on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon this past Wednesday. Taker was in a segment called The Suggestion Box, where fans of The Tonight Show write in suggestions to the show. Kind of like a suggestion box that you'd see at work or something like that. Usually the Human Resources Department will throw that out there or something. Although we don't have one here at BCB, and I'm sure if there was, they'd be suggesting that I get off the air. But someone suggested that The Undertaker deliver a tombstone pile driver to a guy in a turkey outfit for Halloween. Halloween past. Thanksgiving's coming up. See, I'm getting my holidays all mixed up here, too. The sleep deprivation tour continues. Just as Fallon was downplaying the possibility of it happening, Taker's music hit, the crowd popped, and Taker removed his trademark hat and jacket. And the man in the turkey suit looked on, pecked on a little bit. No, it wasn't Hector Guerrero in the gobbledygooker suit. Actually, I wish it was the gobbledygooker suit, but no, I guess they didn't want to dust that one off. But as the turkey approached, Taker delivered the tombstone and signature pin to the delight of the crowd, and then Fallon promoted Survivor Series as they went to commercial. And here's a little did you know. The individual in said turkey suit who took the tombstone pile driver, no, it wasn't Pete Rose getting number 4 because he only does that at WrestleMania, and he hasn't done that in probably about 15 years now. Brad Maddox, a name you haven't seen in a while, the former Raw GM. Well, I guess if they're going to have somebody who can work with Taker, why not, right? Or maybe they figured if it went wrong, somebody expendable. At least in WWE's eyes, I don't know. Also, TNA President Dixie Carter, a little TNA news, announcing on Twitter Wednesday that the semifinals of the TNA title tournament would take place in Mumbai, India in December when they go to take their Indian tour. And a little note of said tournament. I know I haven't talked too terribly much about it because I don't know. They're treating it like a World Cup kind of format. So they've got people in the 8 different groups, and this shows you my minimal World Cup knowledge. Yeah, I know, but what the rest of the world outside of the U.S. calls football is probably not my strong suit, but I know a little bit at least about the World Cup. But there have been 3 qualifiers as there are 12 matches remain to determine the other 13 qualifiers. EC3 from the Champions Group, Gail Kim from the Knockouts group. So, yes, Gail Kim could possibly be your TNA World Heavyweight Champion, which, while it would be progressive, it would be probably taken about as well as when David Arquette won the WCW World title back in 2000. Wow, Serena even rolling her eyes at that one. She might have even been born yet and understands how awful that was. And the other qualifier, Matt Hardy from Group Tag Team Specialists. So the other 12 matches will probably unfold over the course of the next couple of weeks on TNA Impact. So there is your look at that. Also, The Rock, well, he's confirmed, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, that he and his girlfriend, they've confirmed the reports that they are indeed expecting a child. Rock writing on Instagram, quote, "I was raised by and live with amazing and strong women, so the universe felt we needed one more. It's a baby girl. Thank you guys so much for the awesome support and love you've sent at Laura Hashian Official." I still haven't figured out how to read a quote involving somebody's @name from either Instagram or Twitter or anything like that. It doesn't feel right. I don't know. It's just random musing on my part. But going back to this here, you've sent Lauren and myself from around the world. We're so grateful for this blessing and thrilled to share this news with y'all. He did write y'all, Y''ALL. I don't know how many spaces or characters they allow on Instagram, as I don't have an Instagram. So I don't know. That's a little foreign to me. I got nothing. Without question. So let's... we'll take care of our second time out, and then we're going to take an in-depth look at WWE Survivor Series 1998 Deadly Game, the last time that the WWE Championship was determined due to a vacancy of sorts at the Survivor Series pay-per-view. Plus, we've got Today in Wrestling History. We've got birthdays still. Quite a bit to get into here on Pro Wrestling Weekly, but before we take care of some business, I've got to tell you about some other business. Well, it's more like pleasure in my case. It's my favorite beer spot, the Broken Goblet Brewery, 1500 Grundy's Lane in Bristol. Broken Goblet Brewing, breaking your perspective on how you experience craft beer, because broken can be beautiful. Now, tonight is Mixology Night at the Goblet. Righteous Jolly, one of my favorite bartenders, will be mixing and muddling some new cocktails made with Broken Goblet beer. Come in and try a sampler for $3. Scorecards will be available, so let them know what you think. The top 3 will be added to the menu. Man, getting thirsty thinking about it already. Also, very few tickets remain for Thanks for the Laughs, a special comedy event that's going to be at the Goblet on Thanksgiving Eve, Wednesday, November 25th, with comedians Jim Florentine and Don Jameson. Tickets are only $20, and it includes your first beer. And coming up on Black Friday, that's right, November 27th, the dual bottle release of Bubba's Sour Tea Bag. It's better than it sounds. Sour ales with either cherries or raspberries aged in wine barrels. Yum. Open Wednesdays through Sundays. It's always a good time at the Broken Goblet Brewery. 1500 Grundy's Lane in Bristol, PA. Check them out on the web at brokengoblet.com. That's Broken Goblet Brewing, the semi-official brewery of Pro Wrestling Weekly. Coming back, we're looking at Deadly Game. We've got room for your calls as well. Got about a little over 10 minutes before we make our way to high school football here on WBCB. This is Pro Wrestling Weekly here on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com. Pro Wrestling Weekly presents Today in Wrestling History, November 14. On this date in 1999, the WWF held its Survivor Series pay-per-view. In the main event, The Big Show defeated The Rock and Triple H in a triple threat match to win the WWF World Heavyweight Championship. On this date in 2004, WWE held its Survivor Series pay-per-view. In the main event, Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho, Randy Orton, and Maven defeated Batista, Edge, Snitsky, and Triple H in a Survivor Series elimination match. On this date in 2006, WWE SmackDown was taped in Manchester, England. In the main event, Batista and Bobby Lashley defeated Finlay and King Booker in a tag team match. On this date in 2011, WWE Monday Night Raw aired live from Boston, Massachusetts. In the main event, Randy Orton fought Wade Barrett to a no contest. This has been Today in Wrestling History, November 14. Welcome back to Pro Wrestling Weekly here on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com. Fearon Derry here with you, at least for another 8 minutes or so. And then we're going to be making our way out to Manalapan. Matt Miro bringing you the Trenton and Manalapan High School football playoff game here on WBCB. And I've been teasing it pretty much going back to last week. So let's go ahead and bring up the music here at least a little bit and get into it. November 15th, 1998. That's right, not November 14th as it reads on the WWE Network. That's a typo on their part. The first of two Survivor Series pay-per-views not to have a traditional Survivor Series elimination match. The other, 2002, which had the first ever Elimination Chamber match. Yeah, scary to think of. That was 13 years ago now the Elimination Chamber made its debut. Anyway, 14 matches on the Deadly Game card. 18 if you include the dark match of Too Much defeating the Hardy Boys. Too Much, Brian Christopher and Scott Taylor before they became Too Cool. A little bit later, I guess in the beginning of 99 is when that changeover happened. As well as the 3 Sunday Night Heat matches, which saw Hardcore Holly and Scorpio beat the Legion of Doom. As well as Val Venus upending Tiger Ali Singh. There are a few throwback names. And Gangrel defeating Steve Blackman. Now, the first round of the tournament, Mankind pinned mystery opponent Dwayne Gill after a huge hype or whatever. Yes, Dwayne Gill, before his Gilbert character, if you remember Gilbert. That was a 30-second quick win for Mankind. Al Snow, along with Head, beating Jeff Jarrett with Deborah in about 3.5 minutes. Steve Austin beating the Big Boss Man in about 3 and change by disqualification when the Boss Man hit Austin repeatedly with his nightstick, attempting to prevent him from continuing in the tournament. Also, X-Pac. That was a little bit of a throwback as well. X-Pac taking on Steven Regal. I know, at least at the time he was known as Steven Regal. He has since gone on to get the name of William Regal. But the I guess notable thing about Regal at that point was his entrance theme at the time. That's right, he had the Real Man's Man character.
He's a man.
Such a man. Oh. Remember it like it was yesterday. Unfortunately, the Real Man's Man, he didn't advance in the tournament, and neither did X-Pac as they fought to a double count out. Now, the corporation, they tried to extend the match to a 5-minute sudden death overtime because the winner would have faced Austin in the quarterfinals, but instead both men headed to the back and were eliminated, reluctantly on McMahon's part, giving Stone Cold a bye into the semifinals. All right, we'll get that out of there. Also, Ken Shamrock beating Goldust with the ankle lock submission, and the shortest match, I think, ever, if not one of the shortest matches, The Rock pinning the Big Boss Man who filled in for an injured Triple H. How short was the match? 4 seconds. That's right. Boss Man entered the ring. The bell rang. Boss Man was rolled up in a near-side cradle or small package pin, and a 3 count later, The Rock advanced to the quarterfinals. 4 seconds. And that was what closed out your first round matchups of the Deadly Game tournament. And then in the second round, former champions Undertaker and Kane, they had to bye into the quarterfinals due to both pinning Austin 2 months prior at In Your House Breakdown, and a match between the Brothers of Destruction solving nothing 1 month later at Judgment Day In Your House. And in this case, Taker got the pin on Kane in a little over 7 minutes. Also, Mankind advanced, beating Al Snow by Mr. Sacco submission in just under 4 minutes. And The Rock pinned Ken Shamrock after a nightstick interception. The Boss Man getting very involved over the course of the pay-per-view. And The Rock intercepted the pass. Insert your own Sam Bradford joke here. And ended up clocking Ken Shamrock with the nightstick, who Shamrock was a part of the corporation at the time, as was the Boss Man, and he advanced as well. A break from the tournament action saw Sable become the new WWF Women's Champion in a little over 3 minutes, pinning Jacqueline. And then back to the semifinals of the tournament, where Mankind pinned Steve Austin in a little over 10 minutes to advance to the finals following a Shane McMahon screw job. How'd that happen? Well, Shane, after rehiring Austin, was reduced, and I use that in air quotes, to minor roles in the company such as ring crew and refereeing. When original referee Earl Hebner was knocked out by Vince McMahon, who had a ringside seat for the action, Shane came out, counted to 2 following a stunner on Mankind, only to deliver the double bird to Austin. Later, Mankind would get the pin on Austin following a Gerald Briscoe chair shot. And in the other semifinal match, The Rock defeated The Undertaker by disqualification when Kane chokeslammed The Rock, getting a little bit of revenge on his brother by taking him out of the tournament. And then before we got to the finals, we saw the New Age Outlaws win a triple threat match to retain the WWF Tag Team Championship, the other members being D'Lo Brown and Mark Henry, as well as the Headbangers. And then in the finals, The Rock defeated Mankind by submission, and I use that in air quotes, to win the tournament and the vacant WWF Championship, as the finish saw The Rock putting the Mankind in the sharpshooter. Yeah, this sounds familiar already. And Vince McMahon, who was at ringside, calling for the timekeeper to ring the bell almost immediately. Yeah, a repeat of Montreal from a year earlier, because that was the go-to thing apparently back then, and that was Survivor Series Deadly Game from '98. Already the tournament's looking better than it was there, and we're only 1 round into it, with still potentially 7 more matches to go. All right, got about a minute and a half here, so it's time for, the absent Lucas's favorite segment.
Birthdays, you jerk.
Thank you there, Lucas. On this date in 1972, Matthew Jason Bloom was born. The former Intercontinental Champion and current NXT head trainer, previously known as Prince Albert and Tensai, and currently known as Jason Albert, turns 43 today. Also on this date in 1986, Emmanuel Alejandro Rodriguez was born. That's a mouthful. The former NXT Tag Team Champion known as Kalisto of the Lucha Dragons turns 29 today. And one of the Elite 8 in the WWE World Heavyweight Title Tournament. How about that? And, well, since I know Lucas is a fan of comedy, and I initially thought he was going to be here, but boy, did I think wrong. And there is a wrestling tie-in to this, because sometimes you have to stretch a little bit. Although this is like DDP yoga flexibility for this one. On this date in 1964, Patrick John Warburton was born. The actor and voice artist from numerous shows, from Seinfeld to Rules of Engagement to Family Guy to the Venture Brothers, and who happened to be in Get Smart with The Rock. There's the wrestling tie-in. Turns 51 today. So happy birthday to you folks. And as mentioned earlier here on BCB, on this date in 1951, Dennis Ostapovich was born. The host of Polka Powered Radio here on WBCB turns 64 as well. Happy birthday and Stolat. There we go. Say a little bit of Polish representation that didn't involve either Ivan or Scott Putski. How about that? So hopefully Denny's enjoying that. Anyway, for now, that's going to do it for me. I know we're about 15 minutes ahead of time, but Nutsy, play us out.
1 o'clock. rockin' all the way on.
Serving you better than ever before. This is 1490 WBCB Levittown, Fearless Hill.